Hi, I'm Allie. Join me in creating Anna's design of the Begonia earrings. Whether or not you want to go a little bit longer and more narrow or a little bit thicker with a shorter drop. You can look at all the different decisions that you can make while watching the video, so make sure to stay tuned to see all of the details. If you did happen to get this subscription XL box this month in October, you have these lovely earrings components just as an extra for the box. So go ahead and gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin these Begonia earrings, we are going to be utilizing the Potomac's IrisDuos as well as Potomac crystals. If you've gotten the XL box for October, you already have everything that you need to do this pair of earrings. It's a little bonus section there. So to begin with, I have some 15-0 seed beads sitting out here, some 4mm Potomac crystal rounds, and my IrisDuos. You can also use check rounds or 11-0 seed beads if you would like to do that as well. I have 2 needles on some dragon thread, and I'm working with about 2 feet of dragon thread, 1 needle on each side of the thread. I've started by putting 7 beads onto my needle and letting it drop down to the middle of those 2 threads. From here, I'm going to pick up my first IrisDuo, and there'll be 7 used per earring. I'm going to take 1 needle with that flat side of the IrisDuo down and go in from the right side towards the left side. Taking the left needle, I'm going to go through that same hole of the IrisDuo and go from the left toward the right. Make sure as you pull here that once you are done adding that first bead, grab both of your needles and make sure the thread sits even along the piece. From here, we're going to take our needle and thread and step up from the bottom hole to the top hole of that same IrisDuo. The needle that's on the right goes through to the left, and the needle that's on the left goes through that second hole to the right. Not putting on any beads there, so you'll see just the tiniest little bit of that dragon thread right along the side here. From here, we're going to add our next 2 IrisDuos. The next 2 IrisDuos we're going to add on the right-hand side, flat on the bottom, rounded to the top. I'm going to go from the left toward the right of my next IrisDuo. Go ahead and add 4 of your 15-0 seed beads, or 3 11s if you're using that, and go through the top hole, reversing the thread on that same IrisDuo. From here, stick that needle down, and we're going to do the same thing on the left-hand side. This time, taking the needle and thread through the IrisDuo, flat side down, from the right to the left. Once again, because we're doing the exact same thing with the right as we are the left, add your 4 15-0 seed beads and sew through the top hole of that same IrisDuo. Give a tight little pull and make sure you don't have a lot of extra thread showing. So at this point, both threads are coming out towards the center of the IrisDuos. You're going to grab one of your crystals and sew through that crystal with your needle going from right to left, and another left to right with the threads crossing in between the crystal. That's going to position your crystal to sit right in the middle of the design. From here, we're going to go into a little bit more of the 2 needle right angle weave, adding a crystal on the right thread and a crystal on the left thread, letting those drop down towards our IrisDuo. From here, grab your next IrisDuo, again, flat side down. The needle that's on the right is going to go from the right to the left through that first hole, and the needle on the left goes from the left side toward the right, again through that first hole. And that gets that first set done there. If you want to and you don't want these to be as long, you can always stop at this point, adding some seed beads on the end, and then step up like we're doing once again. Needle goes from the right to the left, needle on the left goes from the bottom hole to the top hole and over toward the right. Give a nice tight little yank, making sure that you don't see a lot of extra thread showing. From here, I'm just going to repeat, adding in my IrisDuos on the side, crossing through another middle section of my crystal, adding a crystal on each end, and then crossing through the first hole of the next IrisDuo. So repeating the exact same steps here. If you do need to repeat and you want to watch again, you can always go down to the bottom of the video to that little time bar, and go back and watch the same exact steps again. Once you're at the same ending spot that we were at previously and you've added your second unit on, you can also see that this would be a really lovely bracelet, adding these all together and just continuing with the design along the piece. I'm going to sew up to the top hole of that IrisDuo. To do so, just like we've been doing on the sides of the outside, you're going to add 4 seed beads on both the left needle and 4 seed beads on the right needle as well. Once those 4 beads are on, you're going to sew through the top hole of that same IrisDuo. Needle going from right to left and the other from left to right. From here then you have your set design. Along the top I'm going to grab my wire guard, do 1, 2, and 3 seed beads on my right side and sew through my last crystal. On the left side, 1, 2, 3 seed beads as well, and sew through that crystal in the same fashion. So I'm going through the bottom hole, coming out through the top. So we're not crossing through this one, we're bringing it up to a point. From here then we're going to add our wire guard. 1 needle goes through the wire guard, going through the little tube or the little hole on the side, around the top of the wire guard, down to the other side. And then I'm going to repeat with the opposite needle. Once you're down and in line then with that first one, go ahead and pick up the other thread, reinforce going through the wire guard, around the top, making sure that thread sits in that little U shape. Coming on out the bottom of the wire guard. And then these 2 needles I'm going to take through my 4mm crystal. Once those are through the 4mm crystal, I'm set up and ready to go around the whole piece with 1 of these needles, adding in additional 15-0 seed beads to get my look. You can see here at the top that the wire guard is going to sit rather open. I just take my fingers and pinch it together a little bit so it goes much more into a teardrop shape. Let 1 needle be, just hanging out. And then we're going to take the other needle down through all of the seed beads here on the right hand side, going through the first 3 seed beads, as well as the 4 seed beads that sit next to the IrisDuo, and out. Not through that side bead. Just wanted to jump ahead. All right. Once you're down through those beads then, we're going to get ready to add in some of our additional 15-0s. You can keep this exactly as is if you want to, or follow along to add in the additional seed beads along the sides of the IrisDuos. Coming out those seed beads along the right hand side, I'm going to take that same needle, go through the crystal that sits along the side there, add 3 15-0s, and sew through the 4 15s that set on the right hand side here. Once I'm out of here, I'm going to add 4 15-0s. You're just making up the space here. If you're using 11-0s, it's going to be a little bit different. And then we're going to sew through the next crystal that sits on the right hand side. From here, 3 15-0s, so when I'm coming out of the crystal, 3, and then go down through the 4 along the side. And that brings me towards the bottom. Along the bottom here, we're going to do 4 seed beads as well. And then along the bottom, I'm going to go, there's originally 7 beads on here. I'm going to go through the first 3 beads. Then I'm going to skip over the 4th bead and sew through beads 5, 6, and 7. What that's going to do is make that odd bead, that number 4 bead, sit up and in a little bit more of a point. On the other side here, we're going to repeat what we've just did. 4 15-0s go on, go into the 4 that's already there on the opposite side. Prior to the crystal there, we're going to do 3 seed beads. through the crystal then, back to 4 seed beads, up through the 4 that are already there, and then prior to the crystal, 3 more seed beads, up through the crystal. So you can see I've rotated that in my hand as I'm working with it, and I'm working along the piece. Remember that starter thread, or that original one, is up here as well, so that left-hand side of the thread. From here, I want you to go up through all the seed beads that sit on this opposite side. So linking in those 4 that sit on that first IrisDuo, or the last IrisDuo rather, and up through the 3 beads that sit there. That perfectly positions you then to take those 2 thread ends and tie them off. So simple and easy, and a great design by Anna. Once I have this tied off and those thread edges burnt, all I need to do is add in my ear wires. And I can't wait to see if you go ahead and comment if you do these with another 2-hole bead and you have different counts of your seed beads along the side. If you do this with IrisDuos or with some super duos, you can really have fun creating. Nice burn there on that dragon thread. Open up some ear wires and stick them on. So you can see how I changed up Anna's design here just ever so slightly, utilizing some wire guards, and then I added a crystal at the top. It's a fun look for a little bit more narrow versus wider look, even just switching up and making that simple switch of the 15-0 seed beads versus the 11-0. Thanks so much to Anna for her begonia design, a lovely addition, and a little bonus extra for those of you with the XL subscription box. These materials are all in the box, so you can go ahead and make the earrings as well. Remember, if you do need any supplies, check out the links below the video in the description, and you can get links to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com. Remember to give a little comment below if you switch anything up, use different beads, or change up the seed bead count as well. Thanks so much for joining in, and don't forget to post your own pictures in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Have fun and enjoy the next video.